Hey folks, today after reading an article on matthewsvolvosite.com by, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this and I apologize to the original poster, Sun Zoon Hong. I'll leave the details in the description so you can read it. We're going to go over fixing a broken switchblade key fob for a Volvo, and I don't think these are specific to XC90s, but if you do have a switchblade that is broken like this, then I'll show you the steps that the posting, the forum actually outlined on fixing these. Seemed pretty simple. I couldn't find any videos whatsoever on fixing it, so I figured, what the heck, might as well make my own and help folks out there that might be in the same situation. The parts you'll need, or at least the tools, are a T8 Torx bit, some kind of little prying tool to get the battery cover off and to start to disassemble the remote fob, and then a hand saw, preferably a fine tooth one, maybe even smaller. I believe in the article posting it was a micro saw that he used. Those are the tools, and then the actual part that you'll need is a replacement switchblade piece, uncut key, because you'll use the original key inside of there. And the part number is let's see, it is 31253386, and I actually found this on a website, volvowholesaleparts.com, and I believe I spent $30 or $31 after shipping for this, and it is the uncut key version, which is just means that it doesn't have it, you know, engraved or cut to match your lock cylinder, and it's unprogrammed. There is no programming for the transponder in this guy, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to reuse this upper shell and the actual key, but at least this way, when you know, you push the button, it should pop out. It should work like it's supposed to. You know, my poor wife, I'm the one that broke this. If you want the backstory to it, yeah, I had it extended and wasn't thinking, probably was in a hurry, put it in my pocket, went to do something, sit down or squat or pick up a box or something, and I heard this pop, and this is what we get. So instead of spending, you know, I believe I called a dealer local here in Dallas, and for this top part to have the key cut and the transponder programmed, it was going to be somewhere in the neighborhood, I think $150, $200, and then if I wanted to keep this bottom part, which I would have, it wouldn't have been any cost, but you're looking at $150 to $200 just to program the transponder and have them cut this. But I thought, no, I'll search on the internet and see what I can find, and luckily I found this post on matthewsvolvosite.com, and it seemed very doable. So I thought, what the heck, you know, I could stand to probably lose $30 if I completely pooch this and break it, and the $150, $200 I just couldn't stomach, just have a key cut and transponder program. But let me walk you through the steps that I did. First thing we're going to want to do is completely disassemble our current key fob, and the way you do that, on the back side there's this cover right here. So you're going to take your pry tool and just set it up under there, and just pry it up. There you go. Once that's off of there, just go ahead and lay it to the side. You don't have to worry about taking your battery out or anything. The one thing we want to get to is this little torque screw right here, and that is a T8. So we're just going to unscrew it. Take the screw out, and then the way you disassemble it is this back part goes down, no, I'm sorry, comes up, and you push. As soon as you extend the key, you dislocate it that way. Holy cow. And don't worry if that comes apart. You know, just take your battery out and put it back in. Just set that aside. Now let's focus on the key part. Now what I've gone ahead and done, it took some time, it took about half an hour per switchblade part, is I used my saw and just slowly took my time and cut out this portion right here. And then after doing that, I used my tool. You could probably use a bigger flathead. And I started to gently pry up to get it to release. And you certainly, if you decide you want to pry along this edge right here, pry up. Just remember, pry up towards the button. Go up, never go down, because once you do get it separated, you'll find that your transponder is on the bottom portion of the switchblade mechanism. And if you pry down, you're going to crack and break that, and then you're out of luck. You're going to have to go to the dealership and with a new switchblade piece, have them reprogram it, because now your old transponder will be broke. So be very, very gentle with that. I'll show you how that switching mechanism works. On the new one, I did the same thing. Is I cut in the side, and then I pried it open, and I found cutting it with the key extended on both types was a lot easier. It helped me not. You want to be gentle or mindful of that, so you don't break the tabs that are prone to breaking, and the reason we're doing this fix in the first place. But once I did that, I was able to pry it apart. And there we go. There, of course, is the new transponder that's in the new unit. We're not going to use that. What we're actually going to use is this locking mechanism and the spring. And I'll show you how that works on the old one. Let me pull this new one out real quick. And the way it works is when you push the button, when it's fully extended and you push the button, you're now able to drop it down into the lock position. And then it stays locked until you, and what happens when you push it down into this position and it's locked, it's built up tension in the spring that's inside of here. So when you go to push it again, that tension is what flips out the key. And I'll show you the way it works. What you have is a little spring here that is held in by grooves on this side and on that side, and then you have like a little tab here on the bottom of the spring that helps it build tension as you're winding it down, and it just slips in over this this piece that sticks out in the center and holds it into place. And what you've got on the button mechanism itself is these two little, let me see, let me put it against my glove so you can see, are these two little arms down here, and those help to hold into the key, along with, it's going to be kind of hard because my camera does not focus well. At the bottom of this push button, you've got two little tabs that kind of stick out. I don't know how well you can see it, probably not very well. That actually help it lock into place as it's extended, and then it's put back into place. It's collapsed. So that'll come into play here in a minute, because what we'll have to do is we'll have to wind tension onto this spring and set it all into place. And the way we're going to hold this together, I thought it was a brilliant idea, is Sun Zoon Hong on Matthew's Volvo site used JB Weld, which I thought was fantastic. In fact, let me show you what I'm going to use. Alright, so what he ended up using, like I said, was JB Weld, and I thought that was pretty clever. So I ran down to AutoZone and picked up some JB Weld to give this a shot, and I'm going to use just a little piece of cardboard and a couple of toothpicks to mix it up and to apply it. So what we're going to want to do is go ahead and transfer the spring mechanism over. Yeah, I'll go ahead and use the new spring because the old one, of course, is old. I doubt it's lost any tension. In fact, it still feels pretty tight, so I mean, it's your call. But I figured since I've got these new parts, might as well. And then you've got a spacer washer. This little guy, don't lose him. It goes on the bottom, and I say bottom because I consider the top to be the one with the button, and of course the bottom has the transponder. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and use the spacer washer on the old part, and definitely don't get these mixed up. Definitely know which one is your transponder, because when you go to try to start your vehicle, it won't start. So once I transferred the washer, I'll go ahead and put the spring in there. And before I start the assembly of the new one, I'll show you what happens. And the reason these break is if you look at my old one here, it's missing those little arms on the sides versus the new one. See if I can get that. Yeah, there we go. Versus the new one, which has the arms, and that's what helps lock the key into the extended position and the retracted position. So basically, your broken one is trash, so you just throw it away. And what you want to do, certainly before you assemble all this, I'm going to go ahead and get this ready. I'm going to use the new fastener, the T8 torque screw, out of the new part, just because it has a little bit of what appears to be thread lock on it. So I figured might as well use it if they've got it right. Before we assemble this, let's go ahead and mix our epoxy JB Weld, and the instructions say it usually takes between 4 to 6 hours. So once I do this for you, what I'll do is I'll come back in the morning after it sits for a while, and we have a good adhesion. The instructions also say to scuff up and prep the surface. Before I came out here, it was pretty scuffed up after cutting, but I did clean it with some isopropyl alcohol, just getting grease and whatnot out of there. But let's go ahead and mix this up. The instructions also say you want to use equal parts of the hardener and the steel. And for this, I'm just going to probably use maybe a nickel size. I'd rather have too much than not enough. Before we set that out, I'll go ahead and give you a quick overview of how we're going to reassemble this, because I don't want to sit here for the next 45 minutes or so trying to assemble it while this hardens up. But what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and set the new parts aside, just so I don't get those mixed up. And take my old parts and set those aside. So basically what we're going to need is the bottom portion of the key with our transponder. We're going to insert the spring where this little tongue is right here. I'm going to put it on the back side just like it came in the new part, and then set the spring over this little arm that juts out in the center of this circle. So that way when the spring turns, that little arm on the spring itself catches it and puts it into a bind. That way it has, you know, tension to swing the key out, and then of course no tension when you bring it back. But once that's done, take your key, and the way it goes in is, you see how it kind of makes a, I don't know, what would that be, a backward 6? And just take it and set it over just like that. And you see how it kind of follows the groove of that plastic. And what I found was when winding the key in the spring, right about the 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock position of the key itself is where the bottom tabs on the button begin to catch and release. So I can set the key into place in this position, and then I'm able to push down and turn to get it into a you know, extended position. That way the button's locked into place. So what we're going to do is you just set the spring we want to set the button on top of the spring, and then we're going to want to wind the spring counterclockwise, so basically this way. I'm going to try to get 2 full turns on it so it has plenty of tension to pop that key out when the button is pushed. But it looks like I'm only going to get one full turn before it really starts going cattywampus. And I don't know how well you can see that, but once that is in place, shoot. Once that is in place and it's wound, just play with it a little bit and you'll understand, you know, how it works and getting it positioned in there. I'm going to go ahead and keep in mind that it does try to spring out on you. I'm going to get the top part, go ahead and set it on top of there. And you know, just take your time, be patient with it, because you want to do it right, and it is going to fight you a little bit. One other thing, these legs on the button are different sizes. This one is wider and this one is thinner, and you want to pay attention to that when you're looking at your key, and always know where your wide opening is, where your wide opening is and your smaller opening is, so that way when you're winding it you can set these legs properly into place and get the bottom of the button to latch. Okay, just like that. Because if you try to put it, you know, of course with the thick portion of the legs and the thinner portion, it's not going to work. And don't worry if your hands start to cramp, that means you're on the right track. And I'm trying to video this in such a way that you get a good shot. So I set the button on top of the spring. I'm going to give it a full turn counterclockwise when viewing the mechanism like this. Right here, I'm going to go counterclockwise to turn the spring. Alright, bear with me, I'm going to take this off camera. Take my gloves off because they keep hanging. Alright, let's try this again. like I said, be patient. And don't lose your patience. If you find yourself getting angry or mad, definitely walk away from it, come back. Give you a shot from my perspective. See if you can. Yeah. Alright. So let's make sure we got this lined up properly. Small foot towards the small side of the key. Then I'm going to give it one full turn. I know my big old fingers are in the way. Okay, there we go. So now I've got at least 1 to 1.5 turn on the spring, and what that's for, you go ahead and once you get it latched in there in the fully extended position, it will stay in place. I'm going to put the top part back on. Oh man, that's okay. Don't get angry. Just take a deep breath and start over. Let's see here. Big leg. Yeah, I think turning it is the most difficult part. And then seating it into position while keeping the tension on there is pretty difficult. So I'll set the top portion of the key back on there. And what this will allow me to do is, you'll see there's a little foot back there. You want to make sure it gets seated in. Now what this allows me to do is to test the operation. So it's not coming back until I push the button, and that tells me I've got it wound too tight. So I'll take the cover back off, because you need to be able to have enough play in the button that you can push it down to release it from the locked position. Okay, so let's go. Here's an easier way of doing it. Start with the small tab in the big slot on the key, and that way when you get it your half a turn, I think I'm going to go half a turn, let's see how it does that. That way when you get it to your half a turn, your big slot is already lined up to where you can push it down. And that should, yeah, that's got it locked. So now let's set the key top back on. Make sure our little foot is aligned. And let's test the operation. So it doesn't retract until we push the button, and then it locks, and then we should be able to. It's kind of hard to keep the body together. Well, there we go. It's tough to test it, trying to keep the body together. There we go. I think I would like to get a little bit more tension on that spring, just where I have a more positive lock, switchblade action, because it seems kind of lethargic. So let's see if I can get another, maybe a full turn on the key, or on the button itself. So there is half a turn, and then, come on fingers, a full turn. Okay. Let's check her back. Okay. So now let's check the operation. After a full turn of the, yeah, that's got a more positive switchblade action. Let me see if I can get this on camera. There we go. Yeah, that full turn seemed to have made the difference. Let's see. Yeah, I like that. So I'm going to leave it in the extended position so that I can carefully remove the top without my button coming apart. Because remember, those the very bottom little tabs on the button slide into grooves at the bottom of the this casing and help hold it in position when it's in the extended position or the lock position. So now what we want to do is gingerly set this aside, and we're going to mix up our JB Weld. First I'm going to take the steel portion and add, well, maybe a dime size. I need to punch that hole out real quick, so I'm going to use a old screw that I've got laying here and just push it in. You can see it comes out almost like a gasket maker. We'll set that right there, and I'll do the same thing for the hardener, but for the hardener I'll use a new screw that I have laying. I don't want that steel portion to get into this hardener and create a JB Weld hardened cap, which then I'd have to drill out. But I'll go ahead and stick that down in there. Get a nice opening and then pull it out. Okay. That should be enough. Like I said before, I'd rather have too much than not enough. So I'll take my cap, put it back on there firmly. Same thing with the hardener. Set those aside. And I'll take a toothpick and I'll just start to mix these up. Once you get a uniform gray color like this, that's a pretty good indication it's mixed pretty well. Okay, so I'm going to take a little dollop of it, just like that. I'm going to take my key and be very ginger with it and just start smearing it on there. Being particularly mindful of the contact points that it's going to have, just to make sure that it's got plenty of JB Weld on there. Okay. Now I'll take my top portion, I'll go ahead and set it on there, and remember the little foot on the back and then as I'm holding it together, I'll go ahead and start filling in the crack here. Let's get this tip portion here. In the back. Okay. That seems to be pretty good. So now I'll take a paper towel just wipe it down to get the excess off the top. access off the back here. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to easily set it upside down. So that I can take my lower portion that has the actual remote functions on it and set that into place, because this is what I'll use to keep this assembly all together while it dries overnight. You just slip it in down like that, kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. And let's take our T8 torque screw, and fasten that down in there. And this doesn't have to be super tight. You want to just get it snug. Okay. Now that that's done, we have a pretty good set to where the key and the button assembly are not going to come flying apart on you. So now is the time to come in, take a look at it, and add any more JB weld that you want. I'm gonna go up from the bottom, just so I don't get any JB weld on this attachment piece. And I'll go ahead and gingerly lock the key into place and clean up this top portion. It's almost got the same color, not quite, but it'd definitely be paintable if you decided that you wanted to come over maybe with some modeling paint or something like that and clean up these edges. There we go. So I will leave that. Seem to have gotten a pretty good bead around the edge, so it should seal pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and leave it overnight, and just for safety I'm going to go ahead and slowly extend the key just so the switchblade action doesn't jar anything. And I'm going to let it dry extended just in the event that JB Weld might have possibly gotten into the mechanism. That way it's not locked shut, it's locked open, and I can still start the vehicle. but I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. I think that's going to be more than enough to hold it in there. Alright, I'm going to let this set overnight, and I'll be back with you guys in the morning. Good morning, folks. We're back the next morning. It's been roughly about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, about between 12 and 14 hours, so well over the 4 to 6 hours that the JB Weld has recommended for it to cure and set up. The first thing I want to check is the operation of the switchblade, and that's beautiful. Yeah, that's no JB Weld got stuck in there, so that is just wonderful. Yeah, that is much better. Well, let's take a look at the JB Weld. That actually looks really good. I'm really impressed with the way that turned out. I know it is certainly a light gray color, and that doesn't bother me. I think you know what? To have a fixed key for, you know, $30-something, I'm perfectly happy. I'm absolutely happy with that. Yeah, that is just fine by me. What I may do, I don't know. This poor little key fob is just torn up. The previous owner that I bought it from was an individual that, I don't know, I don't like to talk bad about people, but did not take care of things very well. And as you can see, there's, you know, pry marks where he admittedly told me that he tried to change the battery himself one time and ended up just going back to the dealer to have it changed because he couldn't get this open. I may take this, sand it down lightly, may come back and repaint it with some plastic black. You know, take all this apart, disassemble it, sand it all down, get some of these grooves out, and just repaint it. I don't know, I may try to repair that before I paint it. Why not? You know, have a little fun with it. But anyways, let's get back to the video. Works perfectly. Now let's reassemble the battery in the back, and let's test it out. Make sure that it works and that I can start my wife's vehicle. Because if I can't, you know who's in trouble. Alright, so we're going to put our battery back in, and this is I get it from Walmart, so it's a Panasonic, I don't want to blind you with the reflection, Panasonic CR2032 3-volt battery, and the way they go in is slide them in this way first, away from this little tang here, and you just push down. And that's it. To pop our case back on, let's make sure our little rubber seal is not kinked or cut or broken or anything, but you'll see a tab here. This little guy goes into this hole. Then you just push down. There we go. Back's back on, and let's go take a look at the car. Okay, lock, unlock work. Courtesy lighting works. Let's go listen for the actuator on the door unlock for the hatch. Oh, let me lock it first. Works. Perfect. Let's test the panic. There we go. I just wasn't pushing it hard enough. Whoa! That is loud. Okay, let's try to start it. The coup de grace. Oh, so far so good. Look at that. Outstanding. Outstanding. Well, there you go. How to fix your switchblade. That's awesome. It is awesome. I hope this video helped, folks, and you can do it. Just take a little time, a little patience, save a lot of money, and have a neat little feature. Especially if you're like me and you broke it, and you know your wife deserves better. Instead of broken stuff that you did, fix it for her, make her happy. So now it's time to go show the wife and get some kisses and hugs. Leave comments and questions, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching.